How's everyone doing today? It's CJ Halleck with CJHalleck.com, and in this video we're continuing to go over the different elements for the Elementor page builder inside of WordPress. Next one is going to be the heading, so we're just going to go ahead and click on heading and drag it over. We're going to go over the different things. We're going to get started by putting in and changing our title, so we're going to put, let's say, welcome to TBF Labs. Alright, so we have the heading that we want. The next thing is the link. If you want that heading to be linkable, where it links out to a different page on your website or maybe your Facebook page or whatever it may be, you can put that link in there. You can choose the size by default, just in a general size. Extra large, large, whatever. I'm going to keep it at default because we're going to change this in the style here in a second. Next thing is the HTML tag. As you use the tags, the headings, you want to make sure that you put this at what it should be for SEO. By default, it automatically sets everything at H2 when you bring in the new titles. I would recommend, if you're going to be using this a lot, try to think of it as a pyramid. If you look at a pyramid, and I'll kind of draw it out on the map, you have the pyramid, you have one section at the top, then two, then three. And that's where you want to link up your site. So your H1 tag is always going to be the title of the page. So I would do that normally, the top of the page, welcome to TBF Labs, or whatever. And then moving down the page, you want to have 2, then 3, then 4, moving so forth and so on. And keep in mind, you only want one H1, but as you move down, if you have a lot of copy on the page, a lot of text, you may want to change it, so you may want to actually follow along with the number, depending on how big it is. If it's like 100 words, then this isn't going to work. But if you're writing, I did a Instagram blog post a while back that was almost 8,000 words. I still have to edit it. It's going to let me close out some of these tabs. I still have to edit it and go through stuff. So when I actually go through that, I may have, of course, the one H1, I may have 2 H2s, 3 H3s, 4 H4s, so forth and so on. But you want to make sure that you don't overdo it. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. Of course, the last thing you can do on the main content section is going to be the alignment. You can choose if you want it centered, aligned to the right, left, or if you want it justified. Now we're going to go into the style. This is where you're going to really start making the website look, if you will, more like the brand that you are. So as we go through, almost forgot one thing, we'll stretch that out. All right, so as we go through this in style, you'll start with the text color. Because right now we're on white, we're not going to need this to be white, obviously, because you won't see it. And if Google sees that you have text, it's the same color as the background, it looks like you're trying to hide keywords. And that is frowned upon. It's called black hat SEO, and that is a fast way to make sure that you never rank for a keyword. So basically, you can choose your colors here. It's totally custom. Whatever color you want. If you have specific colors for your business, if you've already had your logo designed and you know what the color codes are, you can literally just come in and paste them in here, or type them in. If it's say my main red that I use in a lot of stuff, it's D12345. Whoop. And see, sometimes it does this and it frustrates me. All right, there we go. And that's just, it's the color code red for Nebraska. Go Huskers. But you can change your colors to any color code you want. It's 100% customized. Next thing is the typography. Default, it'll automatically set it to what we set in the customized video in the customized section of WordPress. If you haven't watched that yet, be sure to go check that out. It's on my YouTube channel. I'll make sure to link below. Or you can come in, if you feel like it needs to be a different font, you can change that here in the family. Next thing is the size. So you can choose exactly how big you want it. And this is based on pixels. We'll go 42. I like that number. Next thing is the weight, which is how thick that font is. So you can actually make it super thin, or you can come in here and go 900 and make it really thick. And then, of course, you can go in the middle. You can play around with it. For me, that's kind of the same size as the logo, so I'm going to go ahead and keep that. Transform, you can go uppercase, which goes across the board. Lowercase, of course, completely lowercase. Capitalize, which will capitalize the first letter of each word. And then normal, which is however you typed it out. I'm going to go ahead and keep that default. Style, you can choose if you want it italic or not. Oblique, to me, it's the same thing as italic. I know the graphic designers watching this are probably hating me right now. And then decoration, if you want like an underline under it, an overline, line through, whatever. We'll leave that at default. Line height is the spacing between this line and the next line. If you only have one line, it'll add extra. It basically just adds padding to the top and the bottom of the text. So you can literally see it just adds that extra spacing as you drag it out. If you don't use that, you want to make sure you come in and delete that so it stays at default. Spacing goes the opposite way. It goes sideways instead of tall, but it goes in between the letters. So you can stretch it out to make that one thing go super wide, or you can condense it. Totally up to you, however you want to do it. We're going to go ahead and delete that. Alright, so that's the typography. Next thing is text shadow. Very basic. If you want a shadow or not, you can choose. You can see how it looks. You can change the different, how you want it blurred. Where you want it spaced. If you want it, on top to bottom. If you want it kind of off at an angle. You can kind of bring it over to make it look like the light's shining, if you will, from the main logo down. However you want to do it. And of course you can change the color if you want it to be super fancy, and it kind of gives it the little green shadow or blue or whatever you want. And then once again, you can default it. If you make any mistakes, and you can also come in and set back the default to turn it off if you don't want to use it. Next thing is blend mode. I'm not going to be getting deep into the blend mode because there's a lot of different things you can do with this. This is just how it blends with the background of the image behind it, where you can make it kind of transparent but stand out at the same time. That's something you can just play with. I believe Elementor themselves has done a new video on this, because this is still somewhat new to Elementor, and I honestly haven't had a chance to use it yet. But for right now, that's all you're going to need to know. You can mess around with the blend mode later. You can go to the Elementor YouTube channel and check that out and look at the different things that the blend mode will do. Next thing is advanced. We've already covered the advanced sections. Remember, margin is spacing on the outside of the box. So if I continue to go up and up and up and up and up and up, you can see basically it's the spacing around the top, bottom, and the sides. So nothing will actually show. Well, technically, let's see here. And it won't show the edit box, but it adds the spacing on the sides here, top and bottom. And then the padding, go ahead and take this back down to 0. And then the padding is going to be inside the box. So, I mean, it just makes it that much bigger. So you have the space from the edge of the element, the edge of the section to the element itself. So if you wanted to have text, but you didn't want to have it sit right at the top of that box, if you had like a black background, you'd want to add some padding. We'll delete that. Let me go ahead and delete this instead of 0. Entrance animation, you can do some fancy stuff. Just when it gets to that section on the page, that's how it loads. That does take some extra time in loading, so I don't really use that much. As far as the animation stuff, I really don't. Of course, back to the CSS stuff, I highly recommend that you don't touch the CSS. Don't do anything with CSS unless you understand what you're doing. Next thing is the scrolling effect. And like I said in an earlier video, this is mostly used for the header. And that's just, or if you have like a specific call to action on a page, you can have the call to action, something like this that goes full width with a different background color. Because of course you'll want to have a background color, or when you do this, you'll see it'll get covered up by, or it will cover the content on the website. So you want to make sure you have a background color. But aside from that, normally the header is about the only thing you're going to worry about doing the stickiness to. So we're not going to touch the scrolling effect. Of course, background. This will be the background for this for the element with the size of the element. So if we do the background color here, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's just for that, so if we end up coming in, let's go to advanced, so you can see basically, you see the margins will change and it stretches it across, down, up, top, whatever. You can come in and we'll delete it, and then we'll do padding and let you see how it works for the padding. So it actually gives the space and it makes that background much larger. But personally, I wouldn't recommend doing the background on the elements themselves. I would do it inside of the sections. Visibly, for the most part, it will look better that way. So I'm going to go ahead and go into background, and we're going to clear that out. Next thing is border. Works just as before. If you want a border around the thing, you can go solid. Change the border size. Responsive. This is where you would just basically hide that one element, depending on if you have a big call to action with massive font. You may want to hide it on the desktop and design another one that's hidden on tablet and mobile that's just for the desktop, right? So you can change that around and show what shows up or whatnot. But anyways, that is the heading element. Follow along as we go into the next tutorial, which is our image, and we're going to show how to do some fancy edits and stuff to the image, and change square images to circle and all that inside of Elementor. So if you like this video, please be sure to like it, subscribe on YouTube, and once you subscribe on YouTube, be sure to click that bell so you can get notifications when I upload new videos. Other than that, I hope everyone's having an amazing day. Be great. Stay boosted, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care.